Dun, dun. And we're live. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this has been long requested on my YouTube channel for an incredibly long time, at least 8 days. I am finally joined with the man, the myth, the legend himself, the man on the street, Nuance Bro.
What's up? Good to be here.
It's good to have you on this It's good to have you on the show. I was going to say show or program, so we're going to go with showgram. Nuance Bro, for those of you who don't know, he has a YouTube channel. It's whenever my screen share thing will work. Yeah, there we go. This is his channel, youtube.com/NuanceBro. He also has a bunch of other links in the description box. Definitely check him out. He even has his own website. It's very fancy. He hand built it himself. Like he literally built the servers. Exactly. He built the servers for his website himself. That's how like dedicated to the craft he is. So definitely check it out. Also, you could support him at nuancebro.com/join. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about his channel, about a bunch of other things, and of course, the main story of the day, the thing that everybody is on lockdown about, and that is the Tiger documentary on Netflix.
Yes, the coronavirus documentary of the Tigers. Yes.
Yes. So how's it going? How are you doing today?
Doing well, man. I'm going to pretend like we weren't talking for like 20 minutes before the stream. So
yes, that's how
I finally meet you, you know?
Nice to meet you finally in person and have a conversation over the internet.
In person, over the interwebs, of course.
Yes. Nuance Bro is actually in the other room. The split screen view is actually like if I reached over, which I won't do because it will break the illusion. He's right over there. But somebody's putting up Team Carol. Oh, yeah. So we're going to do like 45 minutes of discussion-ish. And then if you guys have questions for Nuance Bro, then, you know, send them in the chat and all that. And last 15, we're going to try and answer them. But obviously, coronavirus is going on. I am in an epicenter. You are in a secondary epicenter in San Francisco. So how are you holding up? How are you dealing with it? And did you contract it from Seth Gorka at CPAC?
Yeah, was Seb Gorka the one guy that they emailed everybody about and they said this person has coronavirus? Because they did have someone at CPAC who had coronavirus. I think they might have had a second case. They some people were saying there were a few cases, but CPAC had one for sure, confirmed one. I also went to APAC for like 20 minutes. There were 2 people there, but I seem to be fine. Everybody in my household is fine, so I think we're good.
Right. I mean, I think that's why Ted Cruz ended up quarantining himself, right?
Well, there was multiple reasons for Ted Cruz. I mean, I think he had the CPAC one, so he quarantined himself. Then he gets out of quarantine. Then they find out Rand Paul actually tested positive for coronavirus. So now everybody's like, well, do we just quarantine ourselves again? Like he was in contact with all of us. Like, what do we do? So,
right.
Yeah, and it's kind of dicey out there.
And Rand Paul, and I remember I was making fun of Bill de Blasio for this because Bill de Blasio went to the gym, but Rand Paul, of course, after he got tested, went to the gym like an idiot. And not before he was positive, but after he got tested. Same thing with de Blasio. It's not like de Blasio tested positive, but you know, you still.
Well, with de Blasio, it was different. Wasn't the case with de Blasio like he went to the gym after they had a shelter-in-place order or something like that? Yeah, I think that's the case.
After they specifically banned gyms, he went to the YMCA.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is a very not clean one. And of course, he brought like 5 people with him, like to guard around the door. It's like, what are you doing? But yeah, Rand Paul has it. And, you know, you got to keep your fingers and toes crossed for Rand Paul because he has that severe like lung injury from when his neighbor broke his ribs. And he got pneumonia twice from that injury. So, you know, obviously not a good situation. But beyond Rand Paul, I've seen you on Twitter. You're talking a lot about how this virus is probably not a big deal. So I guess my question is...
What are you talking about? When did I say that?
So I guess my question is, why do you agree so much with Charlie Kirk on Twitter about the virus?
Okay, I see the disingenuous framing. Okay. If you guys don't know already, Sean has this sense of humor where he likes to like paint things like the total opposite of what they are. I have been going after people like Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and Bill Mitchell for just minimizing, like, they're like, oh, well, H1N1 actually killed more people. And it's like, you're talking about an epidemic that already happened, that already ran through the population, that infected way more people. and you're comparing it to something that's killing people way faster than H1N1 ever did, with less confirmed cases. So I talked about this on stream, which I've been streaming on Twitch recently, for those who don't know. But I saw someone, they posted a graph comparing confirmed cases of H1N1 to confirmed cases of COVID-19. And the actual graph of confirmed cases, were sort of kind of close. But when you looked at deaths, it wasn't even comparable. Like COVID-19 was just killing way more people than something like H1N1. And we could get into the math if you want to, but
yeah. I mean, you do actually have the data set up. I'm definitely not gonna get into that. And for the record, I do like to just bug you about the conservative ink types, because I see you going after them on Twitter all the time, and most of the time deservedly so. Like let's be honest, like a lot of them just tweet the same exact thing over and over again in like the same.
It's probably not even them tweeting. Like, you think Charlie Kirk is really the one tweeting all that stuff? He probably has like some intern who tweets out, like they have a formula, and it's like, who agrees with this? Retweet if you agree. And he does like the face thing. It's all designed to get idiots following them. That's really what it is.
Retweet to stop the Democrats from taking over society. And also, like, I think we had something to do with shaming them out of using the this emoji all the time.
Oh, they still use it. They definitely still use it.
But it's not as much. Like, Kirk at one point was using that at the end of every tweet. But
yeah, I think the frequency is probably less.
Yeah, but yeah. So like, before we get into the numbers and all that, like, I do have you on. It's the first time I have you on. I wanted to, I'm gonna jump all over the place because that's how my brain works. But like, first, what made you start your YouTube channel? Because you've been on for like a little over a year, right?
A little over 2 years.
2 years, of course. This is why I don't fact check things. Yeah. So what like made you first initially decide to start your YouTube channel?
It's kind of something that's always been on my mind as far as starting a YouTube channel. People used to always tell me to start one too. But I saw people kind of doing political stuff. A lot of the man on the street stuff was interesting to me. I remember watching some channels even as early as like 2008, 2009. There was this guy, Blogger Interrupted. He used to do some stuff where he was interviewing like McCain's supporters. And then there was Adam Kokesh. He would go around. He was asking people. He would go to like protests and ask people questions. And I've seen a lot of these types of videos. And I was always wondering, like, oh, well, why didn't they ask this question? Why didn't they ask that question? Oh, I disagree with their style there or there. And I thought, well, maybe I could do a better job at one of these things. And I saw an event that was coming up. It was the Ben Shapiro event at UC Berkeley. And I was like, well, I'd love to ask some of these people who are protesting, like, do they even really know anything about Ben Shapiro? Like, what are they really protesting? And I wanted to ask them like specifics, and a lot of them couldn't answer the specifics. And I ran into some interesting characters, and my first video kind of went viral, and yeah, the rest is kind of history.
Right. How do you feel about the fact that the man on the street format is currently being done by people that you would regard as maybe just a little bit less intelligent than you would want them to be doing it?
Why, do you have any names that you want to name?
There's some conservative ink types that are doing it, or people who are trying to get into conservative ink. I think there's a gun girl that's doing the man on the street, and for some reason her argumentation style not really as sharp as yours. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, I try not to. I used to go off on a lot of people a lot more back in the day. I try not to anymore just because it's just unnecessary drama. Some of these people have even attempted to dox me, so it's not the best thing to get involved in. But you know what? I understand some people, they're all about the grift. They want the views, the outrage clicks. They love the reactionary content. Whatever. If some people are trying to do more of an entertainment style, that's their MO, whatever. I try to actually have conversations with people. I think it's more interesting, more productive, rather than, well, they want to put tampons in the men's restroom. Like, what about that, huh? And it's like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't like that style. It's not for me, but it might be for other people who it resonates with them.
Right.
It's not for me.
And to be fair, I'm not trying to like just get you to like throw other people under the bus. It's just that I follow you on Twitter and I meet all of these people, like I learn about them from following you on Twitter. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who half of these people are. And then I see you like tweeting out a video of them. And it's like not the best framing of questions for the people that they're trying to talk to. Let me just see what this says right here. What turns a conspiracy theorist? This is from Orange Ninja Turtle for $10. What turns a normal conspiracy theorist that doesn't believe the official story of 9/11 or who killed JFK into an anti-Semite? Oh my God! Until an Semite not believing the official Holocaust story. I don't know. A lot of time in conspiracy circles.
Am I supposed to answer that?
Apparently, yeah. I wasn't expecting that. I just saw the orange and
well, I mean, you're saying normal conspiracy theorists as if being a conspiracy theorist is normal in the first place. I guess it's normal for a lot of dumb people to some extent because I've said this multiple times. I think to a large degree, definitely not all, there are some smart people out there who are way better at justifying what they actually believe. But in my experience, because I'll admit it, I used to be into some conspiracy theories myself, and there are actual legit conspiracies out there. But when I'm talking about conspiracy theories, I'm talking about a lot of the things that are super unsubstantiated. And it's more just like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Without actually making positive claims that are backed by evidence. It's more about like negating certain parts of official stories that might seem questionable that they don't necessarily have the answers to. I always say that a lot of these conspiracy people are just people who adopt conspiracies in a way to seem more politically sophisticated than they actually are because they think it's like, ooh, I've got the secret scoop on something that you normal people like believe the official story on. It's like, no, you really don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like conspiracy theories. I don't believe in a lot of conspiracy theories, but I enjoy them a lot. I used to believe in more, but after a while, you're like, okay, I'm like making arguments based on something that I've read that I have no expertise in against somebody who like against a bigger group of experts that say it's the other way. And then there's always that like rabbit hole. It's the internet is like full of rabbit holes that just lead to like anti-Semitism. Like if you really like follow any conspiracy group of theories to their like end point on the internet, then you know, the same people, weirdly enough, are the people to be blamed. So I kind of just tune that out. Or sometimes it's not always the case. Sometimes they blame the reptilians, you know, the lizard people that evolved with us, which makes sense.
Yeah, that's like more of the old school David Icke type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Icky, as somebody, I was watching a video where they were trying to debunk him and they kept calling him David Icky. And I don't know anything about the debunking except for the fact that they called him that the whole time. Hold on, here we go. So Kekistani Insurgent, this isn't even a super chat. I just saw this and I know you would enjoy this. Sean, what is your take on the conspiracy theory that COVID-19 was intentionally leaked by the CCP? Any thoughts?
Oh, me first? Dude, who knows? I don't think it's the case. Is it possible? Anything's really possible. What about the conspiracies that the Chinese are saying it was the U.S. military who brought it into China in the first place?
Right.
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. A lot of the experts who've been analyzing the actual, like, I'm not an expert on this, but they've been analyzing the RNA structure of the virus and stuff. They say that it looks, I guess they can tell by looking at it whether it was like it jumped from animals to humans or whether it was created in a lab. Right. I don't know how, but they say, like, I guess they can do things like carbon dating somehow on the RNA itself to tell whether it was newly created or like old. I don't know how it works, but they're saying it's not. I'll just go with what the experts say for now. I have no reason to really believe otherwise.
Right. I think it is. I think it's something like that. That the structure in it, like, it doesn't look man-made. It looks like something that naturally happened. And again, it's not like a virus that is very specific to target humans. Like we'll get into the numbers of how deadly it is in a little bit, but it's not like, you know, a virus specifically targeting, you know, that wipes out a lot of people. And the Chinese leaking it, like, do I believe that they're not a good country that we should be very weary of? Yes. But would they shut down their whole economy to leak a virus that like is not targeted in any way? Like, I don't think so. Like, if that makes sense. Like, wouldn't they leak it in New York City instead of like Wuhan?
Well, no, they would leak it in China first as a like a way of plausible deniability, right? And they would be like, okay, we'll just shut down Wuhan for a little bit, or Hubei province, and then we'll pretend like there's this massive problem, and then we'll shut it down real quick, and then we'll get started on our economy, and then everybody else will be screwed. I guess that would be the reasoning. I don't know.
Right. I guess. I mean, look, once you're in that conspiracy mode, you could find any justification for why anything isn't working out as logically as you want. But like, I do want to get into the numbers of this because I'm not an expert on the numbers. And initially, like, I'll be straight up, I was not worried about this virus. I'm still not personally worried. There are people in my family that, you know, are working, you know, near patients with the virus that have pre-existing health conditions I'm more worried about. But, you know, the last time I was out was over 2 weeks ago, and I haven't had the symptoms or anything like that. Like, you know, out without any like caution or anything like that. I went to the movies, which probably shouldn't have done that. But I do want to get into the numbers because you've been pushing out the numbers a lot, like on Twitter, and you did a video on how it's growing exponentially, and we shouldn't think of it like the way we normally think of numbers. So, like, I don't know if you want me to pull up that.
Yeah, sure. Let's bring it up here.
All right. So let me get that. So you have some charts.
Yeah. So let's go up to the top here so we can see coronavirus cases in total, 721,293 globally. This is confirmed tested cases, 33,944 deaths worldwide, and 151,000 recovered so far. You can see some graphs here. This is a linear graph. You can see the exponential growth here. And then we'll go to the United States. I always like to say this, but USA number one. USA number one.
Yeah.
You're at the top with 141,781 cases. Just today so far, actually, this number increased since I did my live stream today. 18,203. So we're way above other countries as far as how many cases we're adding per day. Some of this is due to increases in testing capacity, but we're adding a lot.
But
deaths.
So before you get into the deaths, I do want to ask, like, so this is something I've been pointing out, and I know you're like deep in the numbers, and I want to know if I'm wrong to point this out multiple times. But the United States is also the third most populated country in the world. So, like, we would expect, even if, you know, per capita, our cases are lower, for them to be higher than a place like Italy or Spain or anywhere else individually in Europe. Like, and I don't believe the Chinese numbers. And we talked about this before, even though I was making fun of you because I think it's obvious. India's numbers are definitely not true.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mentioned India in my video, actually, and like nobody in mainstream media was talking about it. And then like a week or so after my video, the entire country of India shut down, and people were like, "Oh, it's not happening in India because this and that reason." Well, they just shut down their entire country, 1.3 billion people for 3 weeks. But yeah, you're right about the per capita thing, and we're a big country, blah blah blah. I mean, if you compare our numbers to Europe as a whole, which geographically and population-wise would be somewhat similar, Europe beats us in total numbers and all of that. So you can add up, even just here, Italy, Spain, Germany, France, and the UK, add those up, and they surpass us. But yeah, and there's way more, of course, after that. But I wanted to talk about, so yeah, 2,471 total deaths, and just today, 251 new deaths. But if we click USA here, I wanted to show people, I showed people on my stream this today, so just so they can understand how the exponential growth is working. So if we come in here, right here, we can see, look, here's 0, 0, 0 deaths, blah, blah, blah. The first death we experience is February 29th here in the United States, right?
Right.
Let's see how long it took us to get to 1,000 total deaths in the United States. So February 29th, we go, blah, blah, blah. And we go here. And finally, we reach 1,027 deaths March 25th. So that's a difference between February 29th and March 25th. What is that? Like 26 days, 27, whatever. So 26 to 27 days to get to 1,000 deaths. How long did it take us to get to that next 1,000 deaths? So we go from here, 1, 2, 3. So we did in 3 days. We did more in 3 days than we did in the previous 27 days or so. So that's called exponential growth. That's why we're going to see way more deaths coming down the pike. The estimates now, like the revised estimates before, they said if we did nothing, there would be like over 2 million dead in this country. Now Fauci is saying like the ideal case, like with mitigating factors already in place, would be like 60,000. It's realistically going to probably be more like 100,000, and potentially even 200,000 would be more of like a worst case scenario with all the mitigating factors in place. So,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not obviously that's not good. I'm gonna ask you like a very like I guess like a not good question like to ask, but like what do you think the number is that would represent the United States of America really dropping the ball on this? Like what's the number that's like too many? Like if you get what I mean.
I mean, any number is really too many. That would be the right political answer if you were in Congress. You're saying like what amount of total deaths, let's say in a year, would be just like they really, really fucked up beyond all belief.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they surpass that 200,000 mark, that would be pretty disastrous. I would say. I mean, even hitting 200,000 would be disastrous. If we kept it more to like 60,000, that would actually not be a terrible outcome as far as what we've seen thus far. So, you know, I would expect to see around 60,000 at the very least, given the trajectory we're on.
Right, because I saw when I saw the you know, the original like estimates if we did absolutely nothing, and it was like, you know, something like 3 million people. I'm like, yeah, 3 million people like die in this country, then like all hell's gonna break loose. I don't know what the low end number. I mean, I'm hoping for like the lowest number possible. Like we're hearing some good things about treatments, although that's leading people to eat fish cleaner. So, you know, you never know and all that.
Yo, look at this guy in the comments. Time flies by. He says, these are nonsense numbers. What are you talking about, bro?
Where is that? I could actually put that on screen if I find it.
Just scroll up a little bit.
Is his name Time Flies By?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, the numbers, like, first of all, he's tracking the numbers right now, and he's not giving you a percentage. Like, the thing that is actually very much in dispute is the death rate, because we don't know how many people have it and are asymptomatic. But if he's comparing the numbers of people diagnosed, or just telling you the number of people dead, like that's not made up. Like believe me, I'm in the epicenter right now. Like I've seen that hospital that they have all the tents out in front of it. Like nobody's making this up. I cannot find this guy for the life of me.
He's at if you look, well, your time is a little different, but if you go up, he posted at 5:30, which would be 8:30 your time.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just way too high. That's why. Yeah, but yeah, like the numbers of dead are like the numbers of dead. You know, I actually get I get weird comments like that when I do death rate of New York compared to Chicago, and they're like, New Yorkers are just hiding all the bodies in New Jersey, and I'm like, they're not hiding 1,500 bodies a year. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I feel like
is it the Lincoln Tunnel that connects New Jersey to New York? They're just going through there.
Yeah, the Lincoln, the Holland. Yeah, these are nonsense numbers. I mean, I'm clicking over to your thing. Is that cool?
If you want.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's not pulling these up from like, you know, madeupinternetnumbers.com. Like, these are just diagnosed cases to actual, and like we're trying to give like some kind of context for them.
Yeah. So So I don't know how this total deaths is nonsense numbers. Maybe he could explain how they're nonsense numbers, but I wanted to show this. This is the live tracker of how many coronavirus cases have been reported in each US state. Here we can see a graph in gray, which is total tests given. So they updated this just today. So far in the United States, we've given out 896,900 tests. Of those, 139,061 have tested positive. And of course, we have about 2,428 deaths. And you can see how quickly this gray line has gone up. Remember, people were talking about how the US isn't testing, the US isn't testing. And that was true. Like March 10th, just, two weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago, it was definitely true. Now we've ramped up testing. We're number one in the world for testing and overall test. And even per capita, we're getting right towards the very top of as far as what countries have done. I mean, Trump keeps saying this, but we did in 8 days what took South Korea 8 weeks, and South Korea has tested the most people per capita compared to others.
Apparently, you have a Vox article up, therefore it's not legit.
Is that what he said?
There's somebody who said that I put it up on screen. Dude has a Vox.
Who cares if it? This is what I hate when some people are like, "Oh, he has a Vox article up." What does the article show? Are they talking about like trans surgeries and their opinions on it? Or are they showing straight up data that's pulled from like the source and they're just providing graphs? Because whether you like Vox or not, they're actually pretty good at like showing data. Like they'll take graphs and they'll animate them, or they'll just make useful graphs. They're pretty good at that. So you don't have to agree with their editorials and stuff, but some of that. So like, I'll show you the graphs in just a bit, but if we could, I wanted to show people. So this is the map of the US as far as the cases, positive cases. New York, we can see here, is basically responsible, or at least has 40 to 50% of the total nationwide cases here. Right. And almost about 40 to 50% of the total deaths as well. So
my apologies on behalf of my state. Really dropped the ball here.
Well, yeah, that was de Blasio was like, you just keep living your normal lives. He said this as recently as 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've seen that compilation, and obviously New York is a little bit unique in the United States. Well, a lot unique in how we use public transportation more than any other city. We're much more similar to a European city in terms of population density. Like if you look at LA, they're way more spread out in comparison, and we also had our mayor telling us to go out and live our lives, and our health administrator, for New York City, making sure everybody went out to Chinatown to fight racism about the coronavirus. So I do have a super chat here. So guys, at the end of this, I'm going to read off all the super chats for like questions and all that. So like if I don't read it, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just going to read you later. But this one is related to the number, so I figured I'd read it. It says and this is from Desi Mergler. I can't pronounce names, for $5. Thank you very much. It says the relevant metric is number of positive cases to total tests. This is 25% for China, 20% for Italy, 33% for New York, and 16% overall for the US. I'm not sure.
Wait, hold on. Let me read this. The relevant metric is number of what does that say? Plus VE?
Positive is what I think he's trying
positive. To okay. Positive cases / total tests.
2 total tests. So of the total number of tests you're giving out, what percentage come out positive?
So, and he's like, what's he saying? Like that shows how concentrated it is in your country? Like what does he mean? Like
how
that's the relevant metric.
Well, I would guess, because he's saying it's 25% in China, 20% for Italy, and 16% for the overall US. Then he's saying that the reason we're number one in cases is because we're testing so much, because overall we're lower. But even by his own numbers, he's saying that it's 33% in New York of like positive tests to overall tests given. So I don't know why that's the relevant metric. I guess
I don't think it is, because you think about it. Let's say, because if you only test people who are super symptomatic, right? Or people let's say you only test people who go on ventilators, your rate of actual positive cases to tests given would be something crazy like 95%. Right? That doesn't tell you how concentrated it is in the rest of the population. So I don't think that's the right metric to use at all. You would have to incorporate like how many tests you've done, how you've distributed them, like per capita testing. Like it's more complicated than that.
I guess the argument is that the U.S. and I get why he had to write positive that way. Very limited character selection for the $5 super chat. But I guess what he's trying to say is that this just shows that the U.S. is testing more, which we acknowledge is true. But like unless you have like a way more representative sample, then you can't compare that. And also the 25% number for China, like throw that in the garbage. Like I don't know what that means. Like I don't know what they're doing. Like they could be fudging that, not testing people. Like I've heard stories about like people in Wuhan like rioting over like how they're being treated and all that. So I don't, that's useless. 20% for Italy is devastating, especially with their elderly population. But again, it's like not everybody has testing capacity. So like it doesn't mean anything, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of stories for China. For example, they said something like 21 million cell phone plans dipped. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, are they saying 21 million people died? That sounds insane to me in that small of a period. My guess is that's probably some misunderstanding as far as like how they went from maybe one provider to a different one or just some fudged up numbers. I have also seen a recent report about residents in Wuhan or Hubei province talking about like the number of urns like given back to families, and like it's way higher than normal or something like that, and it correlated to like 40,000 deaths. I don't know, something like that. But
we have
what's going on there.
We have an analysis from China from Shoot in Tard. Oh my god, I regret.
Oh, he's on my stream all the time.
It says China has 100% accuracy.
Yeah, totally.
So now that you mention it,
but they are living life like pretty normally in most of China. Like you go to Shanghai and Beijing, like people are working, they're in factories, they're going to restaurants and all that stuff. So
I actually thought of something really bad in China, and I haven't mentioned it like publicly until this point. But I'm very morbidly curious to know how the Uyghurs are doing like in lockup in China right now, because you know they're holding all those Uyghurs in like basically concentration camps, and we're having to release people from jails and prisons here, and we're getting no information out of that. So
well, I mean, they're so geographically isolated as well. I believe they're in Xinjiang, right? So I believe that's all the way on the west coast of China. So most of the population of Han Chinese, they all live in the on the east coast of China by the coast, and like the rest of the country's pretty much like empty. So to find someone who actually like lives in Xinjiang is like pretty rare, and that's where like most of the Uyghur population lives. I'm pretty sure it's Xinjiang province.
So AMMV, who's a regular on my channel, AMMV channel, asked how big is the elderly population in New York? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure once you get to a certain age in New York, it's like mandated by law that you move to Florida. So I assume not high. That's a New York joke for you guys. Just so you know, you're welcome for that. But yeah, so this is so you were saying before all this about the graphs from Vox, and that's why you're using them.
Yeah. So this is Politico. So let me go to the Vox one here. So they haven't updated this one yet. So this was last updated March 27th. But it says how the U.S. stacks up to other countries in confirmed coronavirus cases. So this is why I like the Vox graph. So they have this one. This is in log scale. It's not linear. So it's not like starting from zero, and it's like the way they do the increments is different. But this is days since the 100th case. So this allows us to better compare ourselves to relatively where other countries are in the process. So you can see, for example, Italy is right here in the gray, and US is here in the purple. So if we pick out Italy, you can see we're actually on a worse trajectory than Italy as far as the number of cases growing. So it's not so good. And of course, we have a different population size as well. But
right.
Yeah.
And like some of that might be due to testing, correct?
Yeah, so we can actually go down here for testing where it talks about per capita. We used to be really bad. Like we were all the way at the bottom. We were doing like 5 tests per 1 million people at one point, something like that. And you can see how much we've ramped up. I mean, this is still an old number now because the last update for this was 2 days ago. So 1,821 tests conducted per million people in the United States. So we're beating out the UK and Taiwan. So that's probably, we've been like doubling this every few days actually. So we're probably, I mean, you can see Italy was testing a lot more as well. They're at about 6,000 tests conducted per million people. So.
Right. And Spain, I know Spain isn't doing too well. What do you think about
Spain's not doing well.
What do you think about the South Korean like model of how they seem to have gotten past this?
Yeah, that's what I would like to see for the United States. I would like us to be able to adopt a mask-wearing culture where we're okay with going out in public wearing like a surgical mask. Studies show that this does reduce transmission very significantly, even though we had government agencies, American government agencies like the Surgeon General and I think even the CDC were lying to us and saying, oh, this is actually not good. It doesn't help the general population, but for some reason our medical staff need it because they're magical people, I guess. I don't know.
The WHO said the same thing about masks.
There you go. So they were engaging in what people are calling the noble lie, like lie to the people so they don't get masks. Therefore, we have more supply for the medical personnel who actually need them.
But the way that
straight up lie, we know they work.
And the way that actually negatively impacted people was even though it's a noble lie, it's a very inconsistent one, like in your brain. So if you're like, this won't work for you, you don't need it, but also you buying this will prevent medical professionals from getting them. And it's like, well, if they don't work for normal people, like out in the world, how are they going to work for medical people? So it ended up causing people to buy them up in like massive stock anyway. And then like people like me, I didn't buy a mask. Like I got one because, my mom's a nurse and she got me a mask, but like, I didn't go out and buy them. And I was telling people not to buy them because it's like, I have medical professionals in my family. But then I learned that the WHO is basically Chinese communist propaganda. So we shouldn't listen to them. But my favorite story related to the mask and the noble lie is that the CDC announced that in 10 days, they might change the guidelines for buying paper masks.
Well, they actually came out and said that was fake news. So they're like, no, we're not doing this, like blah, blah, blah. So someone reported that they were like leaking that. And then on Twitter, they responded to that person and said, that's not actually true, blah, blah, blah. So I think it was probably true, but the CDC is like, no, don't do this right now. We need supplies. And like, let's do another noble lie. That's my guess. But
what made that funny is that somehow 10 days from now, masks were going to be so much more effective than they are today. Like it would have been a nonsense. It's like such a nonsensical announcement. Just change the guidelines.
Like, yeah, they lied. They lied.
So we have the virus was definitely INF. I'm not sure what that is.
Influenza.
Oh, I hope not. Because I'm tired of the flu. That's like the conservative ink line still to this day. The virus was definitely in, I don't know, China in November. Oh, infecting China in November, hopefully. Through that month, 100,000 of goods, 10K. Okay, 100,000 of goods. I don't know what measurement you're using. 10Ks of people came to the US. Why? Oh my God. The super chat is such a struggle, man, because I get they're cramming it for the characters, but I have no idea. Why do so many not think it possible to be here? I actually, okay, so I guess what he's asking is, all these people from China in November came to the United States. Why do people not think it's possible that this could have been around here in the US since November? And I would say, I don't think either one of us don't think it's possible that this virus wasn't here earlier this year or even last year.
I mean, so you have to think of like how a virus grows over time. Like it seems very slow at first, and then you saw like how it takes off like that, and it takes some time to do that. I would imagine the virus probably came here if like we didn't detect it, maybe late December, but probably early January is when it actually happened. So I don't know. Like, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have had it like before. That's what we were talking about before the stream, that like I kind of hope that I had it and like it's over with. You know what I mean? And I would prefer that antibody test to let me know. But, you know, as of right now, taking into account the effects of COVID-19, who is coming from the top? Blah, blah. Is that WHO or who? God, super chats, man. Thank you, Julio Napoles, for the $5. Who is coming on top geopolitically, economically relative to each other? Oh, okay. So who's going to come out on top after this virus, like economically?
Well, I think who is coming on top, like right now, maybe even. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but who is like the U.S. relative to each other? So, like, who's going to suffer more from the virus, China or the United States?
Or who I mean, I think, well, definitely right now we're suffering more just because we're in the midst of it, and we also don't have like we don't have like this authoritarian government that's able to just be like, all right, everyone's shut down and you're just going to accept it. In China, they kind of just accept it. It's kind of part of their culture. Here, we're a lot more disorganized and messy and free. And yeah, but I think in the long term, though, my hope is we won't be as comfortable, hopefully, outsourcing as much of our goods and especially essential goods to a place like China, who's a bad faith actor. They're threatening to cut off medical supplies. I got into an argument with Stephen Michael Davis. I'm sure you might have seen this on Twitter, but he's like, no, what's wrong with China producing 95% of our,
our medicine?
Not even medicine. What's the antibiotics, for example?
Right.
Like, what's wrong with that? I'm like, there's a lot wrong with that. If we can't produce that for ourselves, like, let's say there's an epidemic like this. Granted, this is a virus, not bacteria, but same principle applies. Like, let's say there's an epidemic and they have supplies for their people. Like, who do you think they're going to prioritize first? What are we seeing right now with certain medical supplies? Like, people are just going to prioritize their own countries first. And if you have a supply chain that's dependent on maybe one country too heavily and they have an issue and you have an issue at the same time, they're going to favor their own people first. So I think it's important for just even national security reasons, not even necessarily like economic arguments.
I think
have things sourced here.
Yeah, I think economically, it's probably like there's nothing wrong in principle economically from having 95% of your whatever being produced in another country, like economically. But from a national security standpoint, like you can't, like you shouldn't have it in any country, let alone a country that is like openly like trying to outcompete your nation and like sees you as a long-term enemy. So like the fact that 95% of our antibiotics come from China is a disaster. And I think after this, hopefully there's some kind of like incentive program, because like, let's be honest, these antibiotic production, there's no way it's fully coming back to the United States. That's not happening. But can we like spread it out amongst countries that like don't hate us as well? Like there's a billion people in India. They're friendlier to the United States right now. Like they want a booming economy. You're telling me there's not like incentive programs that we could do? Like we've done this for Puerto Rico in the past, where we incentivize companies to move there, and they did. Like we can't do that
that's been a disaster to some degree as well. Like you have one hurricane that goes in there, and then all of a sudden your saline bag production just disappears overnight.
But I'm saying like we can incentivize from a security point of view. I agree economically, like we're losing money on this. But from a security standpoint, you can incentivize the production in other countries that hate you, that don't like even just spread out the countries that hate you, like, or maybe do some friendly ones. We actually got Steven in.
Yeah, he's right there. I was going to say he popped in the chat.
When do you think the virus will peak in the US, and will they cancel the DNC? We were just talking crap about you, Steven. Also, subscribe to Steven's channel. I'm gonna have him on to discuss stuff.
Yeah. So Trump was actually saying today that he believes that the deaths will peak in about 2 weeks. I put a poll up on Twitter if you guys want to vote on that poll, if you agree with Trump or not. But I'm not entirely sure that the deaths will peak in 2 weeks. It's possible, but I don't know. I just don't know about that. It's funny because he was saying at the same time, he was like, it's going to peak in 2 weeks. But then he said, in 2 weeks, we're going to be at the bottom of the hill. We're going to be at the bottom of the hill. And I'm like, no, I think you mean at the top of the hill. And then we go down.
That's a valley, Mr. President. Like, not
no,
a
but
peak.
yeah, he does, I don't think he understands. Like, we're not going to be at the bottom in 2 weeks. We're going to be at the top. Like, that's the peak. That's what the peak means.
But, I don't think they'll cancel the DNC. I'm hoping. I'm about to buy my ticket to go to Milwaukee. So
yeah, I mean that's in July, right? So
yeah.
The hope would be summer moves in, heat reduces transmission rates, and we should be fine by then. I have trips planned in June, so I'm hoping we can still do that.
Oh my! I was planning a trip to Europe this June. Like I went last. I
went
last July.
My plan's to be there in June.
Yeah, I was gonna go in June, but like I went last July, and like when the prices dropped, I was like, yes. And then when the travel restrictions went, I was like, no.
Yeah.
This is not good. So Yosh says, what up, Sean? I'm sure Nuance will attest to how our homeless issue here in San Francisco is an absolute disaster. How are you guys handling it in New York City? And how would you like to see that handled in the midst of a pandemic? So I'm gonna spin this off because we know San Francisco's homeless problem, giant issue. It's not as bad from what I can see in New York. Like it just isn't, and probably because we get like I don't know how bitter cold it gets.
It's the cold, yeah.
Yeah, like I think that really helps. And we had Bloomberg, who I can't stand, but like let's be honest, him and Giuliani did secretly kill all the homeless when they were in office.
He just hates seeing homeless people around.
Yeah, and Bill de Blasio just discontinued that program. But yeah, I think what would be interesting, and it's weird because New York is doing worse than Californian cities right now. But what would be interesting to see from like purely a policy and a number standpoint, obviously human standpoint, this is a disaster, is what impact the large unmitigated homeless population would have on the spread of this virus in San Francisco and California and Seattle and like all these cities that basically have given homeless people more rights than like people who pay rent. Like, so like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we've already seen even outside of coronavirus that homeless populations have brought even things that we thought were gone since the Black Plague, like that stuff, things like that have been typhus, like came back through homeless people as well. So, you know, it is dangerous. As long as people are in their homes and you let the homeless people kind of just roam around like zombies in the apocalypse outside, hopefully they just don't spread it to anybody else. Like just maintain your distance from the homeless people.
What do you think about all those like Ninth Circuit rulings that homeless people have like the right to camp in all these different places, and like how the ACLU kind of like defend, and by kind of I mean 100% does defend their right to camp everywhere that they please? Like, how do you feel about that as a Californian?
I mean, I think any rational person would not be a fan of that. I mean, would you want to raise kids in a city that does things like that? Like maybe you finally get a home in the most expensive real estate market in the world, or maybe even rent one, which is the rents are outrageous here. And then you just want to raise a family. You want to go to work. And then you got some homeless crack addict outside with needles on the ground. Your children might step on them and have HIV at age 6. Like nobody wants that. So I want to move out of here as soon as possible, move to a freedom state and live life with a much lower cost of living and with a lot higher quality. So
I see. I'm thinking about moving to Florida for 6 months a year so I could stop paying state income tax.
There you go. That's one of the main reasons. State income tax. Like if you're planning to be successful long term, why would you want the state to get 10 to 13% of your income just for being there, on top of paying everything else at a much higher premium than you would in another state? So,
well, also I have the city income tax to work out with to deal with too over here. So it's just disastrous. We are in the last 15, so if you guys have questions, you can put them up. But I do want to. I see a lot of AIDS jokes in the thing.
Hates AIDS, baby.
Yes. Yeah, no, but we don't have the needles issue here, but we do have the subways. And for everyone who loves trains, which is like the entire far left, come visit the subways. And I will disabuse you of that notion that trains are like the best idea, because part of the reason why the spread is so prevalent in New York, it is suspected, is our subway system. And this is like the first time in years that they've actually decided to clean the subways. And like they've gotten so dirty that in the recent collective bargaining agreement between the city and New York, or in the MTA, they actually had to agree, because the MTA doesn't clean them, that they can hire an outside company to clean it one time during the course of the collective bargaining agreement. Because like they were saying that this was the biggest public health risk, bringing back all these diseases with the rats and all that. So, so we got some third world diseases in our state too. Like, don't feel too special about that. Typhus on the street.
We're beating you.
Like, but I don't know. Anybody who's got questions for Nuance Bro? I know I had some other chats that I ignored. I'm gonna go dig that up right now. But like, let's see them questions. What are you? I don't know what you're laughing at.
I saw a super chat there. You're probably gonna pull it up in just a bit.
Oh, okay, I got one.
There it is.
Nuance, what did Gorka's breath smell like?
Luckily, I was maintaining a bit of distance, but that was a fun one. The Gorka bit, that was great.
I was amused how much he got angry and like would not answer your question specifically about speech and kept jumping to the anti-Semitism, because I believe he was definitely Jewish, but it might have been somebody in an Israeli group.
Sebastian Gorka's Jewish?
No. You interviewed somebody else in your CPAC video who was definitely Jewish, but he may have been part of like a pro-Israeli group. And he was like, yeah, I don't like those laws. And like, I don't support the like
the state. Chofavei Zion, that the Jewish guy you're talking about. Yeah.
So like the fact that Gorka, like, who, theoretically doesn't have that personal investment, is like it's anti-Semitism. He's like getting in your face. It was funny that they checked you out before they did the interview. How?
Well, yeah, because the thing is, I think he was trying to check if I was like with InfoWars or something, because I guess the InfoWars people were trying to interview him. So I think you can actually hear when I said they were checking out my channel. He said something like, I think it's like, oh, is there anything about like chemtrails in there or something? So I think that's what they were screening for in particular. But
right,
yeah.
I could have got you that Charlie Kirk interview. I met him in another place. I would have been like, nah, dude, he's totally fine. Like,
oh, please, that would be great. I actually interviewed some TPUSA people, and I was like, yo, like, Charlie Kirk, like, just tell him Nuance Bro wants to talk. Like, why not? Like, let's just have a chat.
Well, if he wouldn't talk to you after his staff, then maybe I couldn't get you that. But I would have been like, hey, I do this I met you in this location. Come on. Like, I don't know him, but I figured I could like rope him.
Stop. If I keep seeing him, I'm going to keep trying to interview him. I have his manager guy's contact,
right,
who decided to contact me after they left already from CPAC. So, okay. But we're going to make it happen one way or another, or I'm just going to have a beautiful compilation of me trying to interview Charlie Kirk multiple times and him just shooting down the requests, and it's going to be hilarious. So
I think what hurts you is the whole Groiper war things, because I think he's more on edge after that. Like, obviously he's waiting for that. They're worried about that, because you remember they would like cut off questions at their own events. Okay, so
I don't really fit the profile of a Groiper though. So
I know, but like they're like I'm just saying they're very paranoid about that, because they weren't ready for like those questions when they first started coming. Anything wrong with this? Is from Ian Caramillo, $10. Thank you so much. anything wrong with 1, bring workers back into the workforce with masks and hands cleaning guidelines. 2, rapidly implement home testing kits. 3, provide that's the medicine that Trump's talking about.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah. Number 3, I'll answer number 3 right away. Yeah, you wouldn't provide that to people unless it's prescribed by a doctor, because like those medicines do have negative side effects. So like if you manufacture that and had that available in more hospitals, that would be fine. But it's also an experimental treatment at this stage. It's not a it's worked in some instances, but we don't know. We don't have the double-blind clinical trials to back that up. As for letting people back into the workforce with mask and hand cleaning guidelines, I mean, it seems to be working in Korea, but I don't know. Like, I think that's where you would like to get eventually, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been saying this a lot is, we do need to get back to work. As far as when we decide to do that is still kind of up for debate. But I believe if we do go back to work, it can't just be like business as usual, right away. You would want people to wear masks, continue social distancing as much as possible. If there's businesses where you can't socially distance much, then maybe those would still have to remain closed for a lot longer, or you would have to limit their operations to an extent. And as far as the hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and like zinc stuff, there's a lot of promising studies on that, both in vivo and in vitro. I've talked about those. I was actually one of the first to talk about those, by the way. I just want to make that clear. And literally after I posted my video, Trump mentioned it for the first time. So vindicated. But he mentioned actually today that they're doing, I believe, a clinical trial using hydroxychloroquine in New York on 1,100 patients.
Right.
And we'll see how that turns out. But so far, all the studies that I've seen that utilize it, especially the combination of hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, have shown like 100% recovery rates.
Yeah.
So that's very promising. Let's see how it goes.
Well, I saw they gave it to like 150 people in New York, and like 150 out of 150 recovered, like something like that. Like when they gave it to them, but again, they've been like, doctors are very much adjusting the doses. Like this doesn't fit any of the parameters of a clinical trial, like whatsoever. So like the sad thing about a clinical trial is some people are going to end up with the placebo, and if it really works as effective as it has been shown to, like some people are going to find out that they were on the wrong end of that the wrong way. So, but that's how we do clinical trials. So Angry Joker for $9.99 says, I just talked to a black guy and he literally told me he goes on Fox News to find the real truth. Haha. Oh, he also told me that he was a lifelong Democrat. So Nuance Bro, you're a gigantic fan of Fox News. Like, you love all of their shows. This is factually true because I'm saying it on my channel. Why do you think Fox News is the only network that delivers the truth 24/7, except on Tucker Carlson's show?
Yeah. So this is what you have to do when Sean says these things. Just literally the exact reverse is what's actually true. I only really like Tucker Carlson's show on Fox News. Everything else is kind of like I don't really care for. If there's a black guy who says he votes Democrat who only goes to Fox News to get the real truth, I don't know if he was like driving you in an Uber or something, and he just pegged you as this type of person, and he wanted to get a good tip. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say.
I think he said
he's not that bright.
I think he said he was a lifelong Democrat, so that makes it a little.
So maybe he's not anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And now he enjoys Fox, so I guess.
Don't go to really any of the mainstream media television stations. That's mostly like infotainment. My best advice would be find as many sources as possible, cross-reference with each other, and try to figure out where the truth is. That's all I can say.
So I have one from Oliver Heaney with $2 Australian, which I'm sure is like 95 cents. He says, how do Trump's gaffes differ from Joe Biden's? Like I've taken the position multiple times that Joe Biden's gaffes do not matter, and they would not negatively impact him winning the Democratic nomination. I take my victory lap right now. And so I'll let you take this. How do you think Biden's gaffes differ from him? And then I'll answer it.
I think they are pretty different. I mean, first of all, nobody's mistaking Trump as like the calm voice or the voice of reason. Like everybody knows he's like a bulldozer or like a bull in a china shop. Like that's why people voted for him in the first place. So they know he's going to be reckless with his words, that he just kind of shoots from the hip. That's what people liked about him. The idea behind Joe Biden is he's the establishment candidate. He's the candidate we know and trust, and he knows how to handle a situation. But the guy is like clearly mentally deteriorating and he's losing his marbles, and his gaffes do differ because Trump comes out. He doesn't need a teleprompter. He comes out. Sometimes he uses one, but he comes out in his rallies. He talks for like over an hour, no problem. Biden, if his teleprompter goes down for like 2 seconds, he's like, he doesn't know what to say. He's lost. He's slurring his speech constantly, and it's a disaster.
What do you think about the idea that it's just his stutter in combination with his age? That what we're seeing is the impact of someone with the stutter going through normal deterioration and not like dementia.
I don't know about the stutter part. I think a lot of it has to do with his age and I mean, who knows? Like, there's not really like a clear definitive line. You either have or do not have dementia. It's kind of like a gradual process. Right. Like it just gets worse. And I think he's in that stage. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying what I think could be the case.
I got you. I think his debate performance shows that maybe it's a combination of him also being incredibly tired. Biden's always gaffed as a candidate. This is significantly worse than before. But like that reputation of being a guy who always flubs and gaffes is actually providing him cover. And that's one of the reasons why I thought this would have no impact on him seeking the nomination. But yeah, obviously it looks really bad. But I do not buy into the idea that Andrew Cuomo is going to get the nomination or something like that. Like, that's not going to happen.
Well, if we actually pull up the election betting odds.
Oh, yes.
We can, oh, crap. Yeah, so let's refresh the page real quick. Yeah, we can see Andrew Cuomo is ahead of Bernie Sanders as far as the election betting odds are for who's going to win the Democratic nomination. So he's at 5.1%. Like this coronavirus stuff has really been helping him out.
I don't buy it unless Biden actually like dies, like, and they have to pick a candidate. Like that's the only thing. Like, because he's going to get the nomination. And I remember, like, here's the thing: is I follow a lot of this. This guy's not going to run for the second term and all that. And I remember people were saying, "Oh, Obama doesn't really want to be president," before he launched his campaign. And it happened, happened with Trump. They're like, "Oh, he's not going to run again." I'm like, sometimes the simplest, like most straightforward answer is it. Like Biden's running for president because he wants to be president. He's wanted to be president forever. The idea that he's going to say, "I'm in mental decline, I'm going to step down," that's when you actually will get the anger from the Bernie Sanders people. Because like right now, like I'm very much, if you haven't been able to tell from following me on Twitter, I'm very much like the Bernie Sanders people will bend the knee and vote for Joe Biden, no problem. Like that's not going to be a big deal. Some holdouts, but they don't really matter. So I got one from Max 77, and you could answer that before I cut you off because this is a quick question. What brand of sunglasses are you rocking?
If you've ever seen the movie Crazy Stupid Love, there's a scene where Ryan Gosling's eating a Sbarro's pizza, and then he goes on like this montage with Steve Carell for like a makeover. And in that scene, he's decked out in this suit and he's wearing these sunglasses. It's from Selima Optique, and it's like that's the brand, and the specific model is called Chad. That's the brand I wear.
Okay, so there's a lot of $2 ones that are not popping up. When I go over this again from the window, I'll see it. So I'm scrolling up to find it. So Nuance, what's going on with Iran and the virus? That's a question for you.
It's bad, and a lot of people died, and who knows what their numbers even are. I heard that they're blaming the U.S. They said something like they think it was genetically, like it genetically targets Persian people. Like that's what they think. Or at least that's what I saw one of the doctors on one of the television things saying. And they said that's why so many Italian people are dying, is because Persians and Italians are so genetically similar.
Yeah,
so
I
thought that was kind of funny.
I actually thought that was really interesting, that maybe there might be something like genetically that predisposes you to be weak against the virus. I had originally heard that they were blaming that on the Israelis engineering it to kill the Iranians, which I'm pretty sure the Israeli population is genetically quite similar to Italians and Persians. So that would be a disastrous idea.
I don't know about that, but
I know a lot of
blood types though might matter. I saw some studies saying like what was it, B? If you're a B blood type, you might be more at risk, and like O blood types are the least at risk.
Right.
So I think I'm an O blood type, so I think I'm the least at risk.
But there's a lot of like I used to work for an Iranian Jewish person who left Iran. That's why I'm saying there's like crossover in the population, because a lot of people who now live in Israel used to live in Iran.
Well, there's Iranian Jews, but yeah they're.
All right. So are you a doctor at Nuance Bro?
No, but Ben Shapiro's wife is.
Yes, his wife is a doctor. By the way, do you watch Freedom Tunes? It's fucking hilarious.
I do.
The Ben Shapiro.
I love Freedom Tunes.
The Ben Shapiro and the Jordan Peterson are A+ all the way. Yeah. Like when he's one of the people that when he commented on one of my videos, I was really happy about it because I watch his stuff a lot. Outside of Kyle and Jank, how familiar are you guys with other progressive YouTubers like Nico House, Jamari Thomas, or Rational National? I know none of those people.
I only know the last person, Rational National. That's David Dole. Should I say anything? I mean, is that like that? I don't want to say anything mean, but it's not like top tier commentary at all. Like,
is that the guy?
He would never debate us. That's all I would say.
Is that the guy that he's been in a couple Stephen Michael Davis videos? Because David Dole sounds familiar.
I think so, actually. Yeah.
All right, then I'm
aware.
1791
video as well.
Right. Then I might be more aware of him. Here's the thing, and this is what I learned about looking into Kyle Kulinski, is that a lot of progressive YouTubers source Kyle Kulinski. Like that's where they're getting all their information from. Like I get into arguments with progressives online all the time, and they send me the same freaking numbers, and they're the numbers that Kyle Kulinski used. And then if you go into the numbers, Kyle's wrong about them. But like, so yeah, just watch Kyle Kulinski, and you know you'll get the first secondhand source, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But I mean, to just more to that question, I do watch, like I'd probably say I watch way more progressive YouTubers than I do people who are on the conservative side of things. I'll watch, people Majority Report with Sam Cedar. I watch Michael Brooks. I watch, I think, even Jimmy Dore. I mean, he's kind of like, it's a little different direction. I love watching the folks on Rising on the Hill with Sagar and Crystal. I love them. They're great. It's not really a progressive show. I mean, Crystal's like the progressive, Sagar's a conservative, but
right.
I watch plenty of progressive people, and I know a lot of progressive channels.
I go through some of them like here and there. There's just some that just bore me. Like people ask me why you watch do TYT videos. It's because I have like no issue watching them. Like I know when stuff is wrong, but I used to watch them as my left-wing source, like way back when I was like trying to get like multiple sources. So I have no problem, and I don't have that like animosity towards them. Like Sam Cedar, I'm just like when I'm listening to him. So that like those people are more difficult for me to watch just because I don't find it like as engaging. And also Sam Cedar doesn't close his mouth when he's not talking, and it's very distracting when you're watching it. I'm just saying it. It's a fact. All right, so let me go through a couple of these because I said I only keep you here for like an hour. How long will it take to ramp up production of the malaria drug if it works for COVID? That's from Shaq Thing. You guys with the names, man. $5. Nuance Bro, how long will it take? You're an expert on ramping up drugs.
I'm not an expert at all, but a lot of these drugs once again are sourced from outside the country. I think one of them, I could potentially be very wrong about this, but I think India was one of the big sources for something like hydroxychloroquine.
And they banned exports.
Exactly. So they banned exports. Some people who were within the country were telling me that they were like handing that shit out like candy even before the lockdown. So I don't know. A lot of people who take hydroxychloroquine or just chloroquine in general in the United States have had trouble sourcing it for their legitimate conditions, like things like lupus, for example. So they're having trouble finding,
right,
sources.
Kyle's gone MIA, by the way. Nice side effect of all this. Kyle's missing in action. I didn't know that.
I have no idea. It's
hard for me to trust the info that's just randomly super chatted to me. If I'm being 100% honest, as an objective source, it's very difficult. So I'm going to go to the window after this, but like people keep sending them to mess with me. Why do you guys think so many leftists basically worship Kyle? The dude's not even that smart or good at debating. So Kyle gives like the illusion of an intellectual. And if you know that you're not that smart, and I know this is like the most messed up answer, but if you know that you're not that smart, somebody who you think is smarter than you, you're going to defer to them. And like, that's basically it. Like I'm too arrogant to defer to somebody. So
I pretty much I agree, but I would add a little layer on top of that. So to your first point about how like he kind of gives this illusion of an intellectual, if you say something with enough confidence and you say it like with so much conviction and passion, people will think you're right. Like that's just how it goes. A lot of Trump supporters who kind of lean in his direction, if Trump says something the way he says it, because he says it so confidently, they're just like, it just feels right the way he says it. He doesn't come off like a Ted Cruz slimy politician, whereas Ted Cruz might actually probably be way more right on the facts of the matter. But Trump just seems more natural and from the heart, right off the sleeve when he says it. So he kind of gives a little bit more of that perspective. It's almost similar to Cenk, where he's just like, oh, of course, it's bullshit. Like it kind of, of course, it reinforces in your brain that this just must be the case, or else no one could say something like this with so much confidence. And then the point I would add on top of that is, I think, so internet politics appeals to a very specific type of individual. Most people, this is why a lot of the internet politics doesn't transfer into real life, is because when you go into real life, most normie type people, they have really sort of normal middle of the road politics. Most people are like moderates when you talk to them. They're reasonable, non-ideological people. A lot of people who are involved in internet politics, a lot of them, the same reason people are involved in any kind of internet sort of phenomenon, a lot of it's to find a sense of community. So they all kind of adopt similar ideas. And that's why a lot of these internet political movements kind of become trends. So you had like the Ron Paul movement, and then that kind of turned into some of like the alt-right stuff. And then that shifts into some of the like tradcath stuff. Like all these things have trends, and similar with the leftist movements, it was like the anti-war movement. And then it flips into like some sort of like liberal progressive First Amendment. And then it goes into like socialism and leftism and Antifa and all this stuff. So yeah, he's pretty good at appealing to like an internet leftist populist idea. And he's really, I mean, I don't even want to say he's pandering. Like he's a part of this community, so he believes that stuff himself. So he kind of moves with the motion of the ocean, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say like I remember I was watching when I did the Innuendo Studios video, and like I don't like his videos, but he had an excellent point in there that I have to give him credit for.
Who is it?
The Innuendo Studio, the one that's like everybody's alt-right or leading to the alt-right, that's not a communist. Like I did a response video to him. He does a series called the Alt-Right Playbook, and he includes like, if you just look at it, because I listened to YouTube when I was in editing and I was just looking at the footage, I'm like, he thinks this guy's alt-right. That's insane. But he made a great point about like conservative YouTube, and it's true for all YouTube, is that a lot of times you're getting the same information from like a lot of creators. They even cover the same stories, and it's like a matter of like the viewer on what their preference is. Like there's not like that much of a difference, because there are people that I don't like and don't particularly hate, that like I listen to, and I'm like, I literally can't tell the difference between like this and like 5 other people that do the same videos on the same topic. Like, so like, let me pull these up and like try to read through them, the ones that we missed, if that's okay with you. Stick around for their questions, and then we'll wrap up because it's like an hour 15, and I can never keep time on this.
I can stick around.
Good. I like it. I like it. Very kind of you, sir. Okay, so let me get this on the actual page. I have to figure out which ones I didn't read. I thought that was John Bolton. I thought that was a joke for you because you're a huge John Bolton fan, if I remember correctly. I just heard you say, I can't see you, and I heard your reaction to that. Okay, I like both your content, even when I don't agree with you. That comes from Leaf Sagarager. That's not even a question. Prez Ali 2040 199. Do you think the CCP used China? I think we answered that as a bioweapon. We said no, and Nuance Bro said maybe. Dolphin Dam. Oh my God! See, like this is the problem. Is there's no way to sort the ones that I didn't read, and I'm like too lazy to not read them or to read them once before I start reading.
You're scrolling up. You're going to the comments we already did. I think you got to scroll down.
No, I missed a few. I started at the beginning already.
You're trying to find the ones you missed. Okay.
Yeah, I started at the beginning already. So Stephen Michael Davis. Because you know what, I keep telling myself I'm gonna read these at the end, but then some of them come up during, and I find them interesting. What does Gorka's breath smell like? You already answered that. Amazing. Anything? Yeah. Maybe I didn't miss that many. I
remember all of these. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like I didn't miss. I feel like I didn't miss. I know I skipped over. I think it was the one that I just read that I missed. All right, we're good. Yeah. Problem solved. Okay, somebody just sent one. Smart ass. You know what it is? It's the $2 ones don't come up in the little note thing. So this one comes for I guess us all, whatever. For or against us. I have dyslexia. Like somebody comments it every time I start reading super chat. So like, thank you for insulting me like that. Somewhere in the chat it exists. What do you think reintegration will look like? Will we be wearing homemade t-shirt masks like Lex Friedman days? What pro-social cues will be required to go to the store again, and when? So I guess it's like, what do you think will happen after?
I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier as far as, you know, I think we have to go back to work eventually, of course. I'd like to do it sooner rather than later, but not risking, you know, reinfection and all that stuff. Lex Friedman, the person he's referencing, is like this MIT smart guy, podcaster, and all that stuff. He does a lot of like AI analytics stuff. Elon Musk has been on his podcast. But I agree. I think we got to wear the masks. We got to do social distancing. I mean, just as long as we keep doing things to reduce the transmission rate, but we can also go back to work and not totally destroy the economy. That's what we got to do. I think that's
we have another super chat for Kang Wakanda. It says, "Is atheism unstoppable?"
You want to answer that?
I'm a non-religious person, so I mean, is it unstoppable?
It's obviously a reference to the YouTube channel.
I know, but I'm gonna be, sir. I'm gonna be like, you have to ask very specific questions to get specific answers from me. Like everybody, actually, more people thought I was gonna have him on than you were when I demanded the mystery.
Oh, really?
Question? Yeah, that's if you look at the replies, a lot of that and someone else, AMV channel. Sorry, I got a message that said I did not miss the Biden versus Trump thing. We actually talked about why the gaps are better. What you call? I watch some AIU videos. I honestly like watch for like if I see videos on a topic that I'm already going to cover, then like I'll not do that topic because like you don't need a million videos on the same TYT video. Like,
yeah, I've had instances where it's like I want to really make a video and I'm like getting all the research together, and then I see someone else does it and I'm like, should I still do this video? And then I go back and forth, and sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no, and usually I try not to watch the video if it's about the topic that I'm already gonna do. Yeah, because you do a lot of like TYT stuff, so he makes a lot of TYT stuff as well. So I'm sure there's a lot of flashes there.
We've done the same videos before, and like sometimes I'll end up releasing it after. Sometimes I'll shoot it before and then have it ready to go, and then he'll release the video. But you know, the monetization gods will hold up mine for like a day, and I'm like, you know, like the YouTube plagiarism like scandals of old. I always worry I'm gonna get caught up in that, and I'm like, honestly, I don't give a fuck. Because like I do everything verbatim, like not verbatim. I do everything without a script. Like I except if I'm reading like numbers to get them right. But like I go off of what I remember. So since I'm very like I learn through audio better than like reading, I try not to listen to anybody else's YouTube stuff on it.
Then you'll just repeat it verbatim,
yeah, like or some of it, like you know what I mean, like a specific point. So I'm like very cautious about avoiding that. But sometimes I'll like watch a video and like if there's something missing, I'll still do it. Like I only made the Rodney Reed video. I only made the Rodney Reed video because there was stuff from the court documents that was not in any other video I was seeing. So if I can't add something, I'm not gonna do it if I do stumble across it.
But sometimes I even think, even if like you think the videos are still going to be semi-similar, like you can bring your style, but also your audiences aren't necessarily 100% like crossover, right? So you could potentially be getting out information to people who don't really know about this issue, and it might be a really important issue that you want to cover. So,
well, there are videos, but I'm saying there's like I try to avoid like other creator drama like nonsense, and like they're like I'm not gonna get in trouble for this because I'll rephrase it in my brain, but like you know I always worry like if I deliver something in the same order from memory that it will come up as somebody else. But honestly, nobody cares. Like a lot of the stuff that I worried about when I was starting off, I'm like kind of letting it go. So this one's from Yoshi Yosh. Now you guys, of course, are flooding the chats. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But I'm trying to let this man get out of here. To be honest, TYT is currently in free fall. It seems like they're losing their marbles lately, even more than usual. So I think as a company, they're struggling, but not because they're not making revenue, but because whatever agreement they had with that venture capital firm, like they're not meeting that obligation. Like, if that makes sense.
I don't know the financial details of their company. Stephen Michael Davis talked about how he thinks that they're going to go bankrupt by like sometime this year or something like that. So I have no idea. I can't say like whether that's going to happen or not.
Look, I don't have any inside information on their company, but like I'm saying from the patterns of companies, of these online media companies that get venture capital, like I think that like, you know, there's an expectation of return on investment. And if you notice when they got that investment, they hired a bunch of people and they like fired half their staff like a year and a half ago. And then now they're reducing even more. So like I what you call it? Like I hope they don't go under. Save TYT. It's half my content. What you call it? So everybody support them with membership, right, Nuance Bro? No? Okay. Yeah. Save me by saving TYT. I'm gonna become a member. Don't donate.
Well, I always keep retweeting TYT Union. I'm a big fan of TYT Union. I think the union makes them strong, and they need to support their workers. They need to put their money where their mouth is. And, you know, if he talks about how unions are so great and this and that, implement the one that your workers put card check. That's the Bernie Sanders position, is card check, not this union busting tactic of requiring voting and things like that. Card check. His employees are majority wanting to be a part of a union, and he's not doing it. Union buster Cenk Uygur.
I should have voting privileges in that union with how many videos I make on them. Like I'm an advocate for that.
But you're kind of like an employee, yeah.
I actually know. So like I pointed this out in one of my videos that two of the people that they don't want counted as production staff are people who've been with the company forever, and they're trying to get them classified as managers. And like that's one of the disputes there. And I actually agree with them because those are like the dudes that work for free as producers for them for like 2-3 years. If you've seen their movie, you'll know about them. But yeah, that's like part of their issue. So Matthew Slayton says, big fans of both of y'all. Hope the views like oh my God. Really hope views like yours can become more mainstream. But I'm pessimistic. Sad face. or frowny face? I mean, I don't know. Like, we have different views. There are things that we disagree on. So, I don't know. But I guess they like me and not you. This one is from TJ Rush. We kind of stopped containment phase. Do you guys think there will be civil unrest like with with the Wuhan flu? Did you see Rhode Island putting a roadblock to stop people from New York with New York plates on I-95? I've heard about that, but I didn't see it. Anything?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I didn't fully even understand like the beginning part of
it. He was asking if since we're in the containment phase, do you think that there's going to be civil unrest from the Wuhan flu? And then he was asking if you are aware of them blocking people with New York plates from Rhode Island.
Yeah, so I answered the last part of that. As far as civil unrest because of it, I mean, if this goes on for like 6 months, then sure. And if people aren't able to get money, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So, yeah.
I'm not sure where the civil unrest is going to come from. I think if there was a Democratic administration, then the Republicans would be acting way more like outraged by what's going on. But also, Trump isn't really taking like national authority. Like, you know what I mean? He's suggesting stuff to the states, but he's leaving it to the governor. So it's like this weird position where the opposition to Trump is really going to have to come out against like the Democratic governors that so far are governing the states that are most affected. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Oliver Heaney, you guys should check out the channel Kraut. He's a centrist classical liberal that critiques the right well and makes great history vids. Are you aware of Kraut?
I am. I know he was like it seemed like he was more relevant like 3 years ago ish, when I think like they were going on like Andy Worski and stuff like that. I don't know. There was like drama result with that back then, and I'm not super privy to it because I came on the scene sort of later. I looked into it a little bit. I've seen like maybe 1 or 2 of his videos, and they were actually pretty good. But I don't know that much about him otherwise.
Yeah, this one is from Hummer Eduardo. So yeah, I don't know much about Kraut. I'm aware of the drama and stuff, but like I never got into Discord with like all these creators. Like I find out that a lot of the drama happens because they're all in like similar Discord servers. Hummer Eduardo Rodriguez Morando. See, I speak the Spanish names. $5.
Verano, you got that last part wrong.
Oh, I added an H there. I think it's better.
He's part of Sitch and Adams podcast. He's always in there.
Oh,
well, not podcast, stream, whatever.
Yeah,
we probably have a lot of those people in here right now.
Somebody told me I was going up against them, and I'm like, I didn't know. I don't know anything. Don't Walk Run Productions always copies the subject of your videos. Always copy the subject of your videos. And I don't do the same videos as Andrew. Like he did bail reform recently, but this is what I'm talking about. He did bail reform, but it was like a completely different take with different examples than I did. So unless he's referring to you, Nuance Bro, I don't think so.
I mean, I've seen we're covering similar topics before. I think I did one on ping tax. They did one on ping tax. But I mean, I'm very reluctant to accuse like another creator of stealing video ideas because like these are topics that come up in short periods of time and we try to put them out in short periods of time. And we're going to pick similar topics from time to time. I don't think it's a copying deal. You know, there's been instances where I've told other creators to make videos that I wanted to make, but I just didn't have time to make it. And I'm like, you should do this video, do this, do that. So
like, you're going to have a ton of crossover on videos. Like if somebody was like legitimately like Andrew's not copying anybody. Andrew's wildly successful. Recommend his channel. Find him entertaining. He lives in New York. Eventually, when this is all locked down over, we're going to hang out. Maybe. I just made that up. We have no plans to. Yeah, no. But like the way that you get like the copies is if somebody does like an obscure article from like 3 years ago, and then 3 days later, another person does it and they make all the same points. That's a copy. Like you have to have standards, but Andrew does great work. Shock Thig, $10. Everyone is required by law to wear a mask in public in the Czech Republic. If they succeed in controlling COVID compared to the surrounding countries, will it open people's eyes? Yeah, I think people are already realizing that the mask advice was nonsense and actually is going to lead to a lot of problems.
Yeah, I've heard about that in the Czech Republic. I don't know if that user is from the Czech Republic, but I would say "Ty seš takový prase." That's what I would say to them. Yeah, I mean, they're South Korea, Japan, China as well. Like these countries that use masks seem to have better control than the countries that don't. So.
Well, Japan is like the real like miracle country because their populations, 25% of them are over 65. It's kind of
they're
amazing.
one of the oldest populations on Earth, but I don't understand fully, like, because they're not testing that much either. So I don't know how much, but their hospitals aren't being overwhelmed. Like they just must be really, because I think it's part of their culture. They don't hug and kiss each other. They bow, they maintain their distance. Arigato, arigato.
Yeah.
And they maintain their distance. They wear masks and they're very hygienic. And
well, Japan also has 99% of their population are like ethnically Japanese. They don't let a lot of people from the outside world in their country normally. And my cousin was actually going to go to a wedding in Japan, and he was going to be there for 2 weeks. And apparently, the rule for Japan, for places affected like the U.S. right now, is 14-day quarantine when you land.
Yeah, a lot of countries have done that. I know Israel's done that, for example. Like if you come in as a visitor, mandatory 14-day quarantine.
Right. So
are doing that.
This one is from Kozuki Zaki. Thoughts on on the work Dame Pesos has been doing? 199 Nuance Bro. Thoughts on Dame Pesos?
I actually just got a notification on my phone for a new video from his. It said like, let me see if I can see what it says here. It says the caption is "The Young Turks, the final meltdown for now."
Yeah,
so, I don't know. This guy, he has like a funny accent, but he's the one who famously put together that compilation, like the election night meltdown video, and it has the music.
Yeah.
So that's his videos.
Now, Dame Pesos' stuff is really funny. He also has this whole thing with Monday Matt that I'm like not well.
I have no idea.
So apparently his show's called the Soyless Matt Show, because he's doing his Monday Matt was flagging his videos apparently. And
okay.
he got busted on stream. Why Monday Matt showed his screen when he was flagging everybody, I have no idea. But like, yeah, so he realized that he was one of the people being flagged. So he did the Soyless Matt Show for a while where he would cover, and I'm learning this all back from like looking through his backlog, where he would do every topic that Monday Matt does for like a week in like 1 8-minute video. And he's like, I'm cutting out all the soy, all the fat, because Monday Matt blocked my channel, and he plays videos of Matt dancing and all that. So he's moved on to the TYT stuff. Pretty funny. Yeah. His voice is hilarious. I have a $2 no message from, I guess he wants me to try his last name again. Medrano. There we go. Got to give it the Hispaniola. Okay, he gave this one. Now, wow, I never expected him to remember me. Did you remember him, Nuance Bro?
I have a very good memory.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Let me get I see a last one. I'm trying to get out of here. It's been an hour and a half. Is Italy inflating their numbers?
People are saying it's a fake accent he puts on.
For who?
For the
Dame Peso? No, I think he's legit Chilean.
That doesn't sound like a fake accent. I think that's like his real accent.
I think he amps it up. Like some British YouTubers will like
amps it up.
Yeah. Like they'll be like extra British, but like I've heard him like reading things in his older videos and still the same accent. But it could be fake. Who knows? If it's fake, it's amazing. So Miss Malevolent for $2 says, "Is Italy inflating their numbers like Mr. Reagan said?"
So for me, I
don't know.
I don't know. I've heard things to that effect, but I don't think it's the case, because if you even look at the obituaries that they're printing over there, like they have to add an extra 12 pages. Like they've never had to do these things before. You look at their hospitals, they've never had their hospitals like this ever. Like that's not something that just, oh, it's just the way they're counting it. Like that doesn't seem to be the case. Like they really do have it bad. Like you can go there and look and see it for yourself, you know?
Right.
So.
Like, and I don't get what the advantage of inflating your numbers is. Like, you want the world to think more people are dying and your healthcare system is like failing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
know. He often goes down like this conspiracy route with a lot of his videos, which I don't fully agree with. So
I have to watch his video to like.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, so I can't like really comment.
It might have come out today. All right, so we're gonna wrap up. There's no more chats on the board. Everybody, all of Nuance Bro's links are in the description box. This is his channel. You can go watch it. He does a lot of man on the street stuff, a lot of breakdown stuff, a lot of number stuff. He has a Twitch. He has a Twitter, like whatever you want to find him on. Do you have an Instagram? That's not linked in the description.
I do have one. Yeah, I have an Instagram.
Is it like a public one, or did I just dox you?
Yeah, it's a Nuance Bro Instagram.
Okay, so yeah, there's also a Nuance Bro Instagram. Everything's at the same handle. Sean, why are you looking at the screen? Shut up. I just saw this. I need glasses. The screen's far away and very small. Like, stop bothering me. Yeah, everybody go subscribe to Nuance Bro stuff. Like, here it is. Like, share, retweet, copy it, and hopefully one day he will get that Charlie Kirk interview.
One day, maybe.
Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, just thanks for having me on. It was a good time. Hopefully we can do this some more in the future. Maybe I'll see you over at the DNC when that happens, if that happens.
True. I'm gonna sneak you into that event. I'm just
maybe if the event organizers don't hate me.
I'm gonna use this crazy technique of asking them for a ticket for you. And,
all right, we'll see. We'll see how it works.
Let's see. So everybody's saying that they already subbed to you and all that. That they love you personally. That's very sweet.
Oh,
all right. Let me end the broadcast. Till next time, go to Nuance Bro stuff. His link is all in the description. He started a Twitch channel. He needs more Twitch days, but like, go subscribe.
Twitch, we're streaming pretty much every day on Twitch right now, covering the coronavirus, kind of like we just did on this channel. A little more in depth because I don't want to just hog up all the time. But yeah,
right. Plus, I didn't have like a well planned out format for this one, so whatever. Till next time. Bye. I'm heading.